you're very...
Low key.
You do it with
friendly.
manners, and he does it with manners,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Careful, you're giving me a big head here.
You are one of the best dressed men on a current affair, I've got to
snappy
say.
dresser.
You
He
know,
is from Melbourne, so,
Wait, running!
Who are you?
What's got to do with you?
4 months ago, all right?
Until they clean up
And
their
this time
yard,
they're
the
come.
rats won't go
We
away.
don't know it.
Is this all hocus pocus?
Can you say, abracadabra, here's your pay?
I'm pretty fit, Abdullah, I can keep running.
Go. It's called a current affair Australia. Is that what I name it?
Have a lovely day.
Hello, I'm Steve Marshall.
Hello, Steve Marshall. I'm Lizzie Pearl.
Well, hello, Lizzie Pearl. How you doing?
Pretty good today.
Welcome to this episode of
That's
ACA,
ACA.
where we take you...
Behind the scenes, the ins and outs, the ups and downs, the making of this brilliant little big show of ours called A Current Affair.
Do you love a drop-in?
Love a drop-in.
Yeah.
A little pop-in.
A little-
Surprise visit. I love it.
Yeah, we've got a great visitor today. He's a young journalist of the year, just not that many years ago.
Just a couple of years
That
ago.
gives you a sense of his overachievement in the business.
Puts us to shame.
He's from Victoria. His name is Sam Cucchiara. Welcome, Sam.
Hello, guys. Thank you for
Hi,
having
Sam.
me.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the potty, so
Excellent. We like to hear it.
and it's perfect for you, Sam, because you're on the road a lot,
Yeah.
and it's great to have you in studio, which is fantastic in Melbourne. But, you know, what have you been up to lately?
chasing all the baddies that need to be caught and exposing them, which is what we love doing best here on ACA. Also following Erin Patterson in court. That was a huge story, which obviously is just wrapped up. So.
Yeah, we want to get into that, don't we, Lizzie?
We definitely do. We've got a lot of questions.
Yeah, so let's start with Erin Patterson. Sam, you found yourself, giving everyone a world exclusive when you caught up with Erin Patterson not long after the deaths.
Yeah, and it's really crazy to think about it now, how that whole thing has transpired. I mean, it was just over 2 years ago. This all happened in a tiny country town here in Victoria. Not a lot of people outside of Victoria had heard of. And we rocked up there and she decided to speak with me. And that interview was beamed around the world, and just extraordinary to think back on it now, that was one of the only times we heard this triple murderer talk.
So give us an idea, Sam, of how that day unfolded. You were obviously keen to catch up with Erin. She drove past you into her place? What happened?
Yeah, so I remember it was quite late in the day, and this was a few days after that lunch at her place. And lots of different journalists had been at her house throughout the whole day. We were in town doing some other filming for our story that night on A Current Affair, and then we decided to swing past her place. A lot of the other crews had left for the day. I think it was about 5:30 or something. And we'd heard that she wasn't talking to anyone. She was just sort of saying, I don't want to talk about it. So when she arrived home in her red car, we didn't think that she'd speak to us, but I said to my crew, my cameraman and sound operator, let's go try anyway. So we sort of started jogging up the driveway to try and get her when she came out of the car. And I asked her something like, can you tell us what happened on Saturday? And to my utter surprise, she just started into this huge spill. Quite emotional, as you'll see, wailing and carrying on.
And you must be pretty shaken up by this as well.
I'm devastated. I love them. And I can't believe that this has happened, and I'm so sorry that they have lost their lives.
How are you
I
kids?
just can't believe it. Just can't believe it.
Can you tell us where the mushrooms came from?
Yeah, and it turns out that's probably the only time she's really spoken to the media. At the time, as a journo, we all sort of have a bit of a bullshit detector. At the time, what was your radar doing? What were your spidey senses? What were you believing her? What were you thinking?
Yeah, I get asked this question a lot, and I think before the interview, before that was even finished, I knew something was seriously off here. I was only standing about a metre away from Erin, and there were no tears coming out of her eyes, even though she was wiping her face and she was carrying on. And the things she was saying to me were almost quite rehearsed.
Take your time.
Gail was the mum that I didn't have because my mum passed away 4 years ago. And Gail's never been anything but good and kind to me. And Ian and Heather were some of the best people I've ever met. They never did anything wrong to me, and I'm so devastated about what's happened. And the loss to the community.
She kept repeating the same sorts of lines, and she sort of stuck to this narrative which she wanted to tell me. But when we asked her questions about the lunch and where she got the mushrooms from, what sort of meal she cooked, those answers weren't forthcoming at all. So I'd actually interviewed one other man a couple of years before that who was convicted of murder. And it was the same sort of situation where I spoke with him before he was arrested. And it's just that strange feeling you get as a journo, but as a person, that something isn't quite right here. And those tiny hairs were standing up on the back of my neck again with Erin. And I thought of him, and I thought, this woman has done something here. She's not the victim that she's claiming to be.
With every fibre of my being that Don pulls through. That's
Where
what I
did the
have to say.
mushrooms come from? Were they picked by you, or where did they come from, Erin? Can you tell us?
Sam, you're very disarming when you approach people in that manner. You're very non-threatening, which is a great skill, because when we do find ourselves in that situation, the journalists are so eager to get questions out that it can come across as confrontational. But you're very
Low key
You do it
and
with
friendly.
manners, and he does it with manners,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Careful, you're giving me a big head here.
Sam, is that your nature? Is it? Were you
Yeah.
brought up a polite boy by your mum and dad?
Yeah, I think so. But I also think that if you get too aggressive with people, they're going to shut down. So I think everyone's got a story to tell, and you're more likely to get someone to open up to you if you aren't aggressive and you're there to listen to them, I think.
And you obviously covered the case as well, a lot of days in court. There was a lot that couldn't be said around the trial that has come out now. When you were covering it, did you just wanted to blurt it all out and be like, this is what's going on? How tough is that for a journo not to be able to tell the full story?
Yeah, a lot of days in court, Lizzie, and a lot of death stares, you could say, from Erin Patterson as well. Sometimes I was just a metre or two away from her inside the courtroom, and that glare from her, just icy cold. I think she really thought she was a victim in this as well, and I think she was really surprised that people weren't believing her story, because I really think that there's a world that she thought in some twisted way that she would get away with this. But you're right, there is so much information that we're privy to, and so much that was excluded from this trial that the jury wasn't allowed to know, particularly the details around the alleged poisoning attempts on her estranged husband Simon in the years leading up to this lunch at her home. And it is hard because you do want to jump up and say, Erin, you're lying, this is what the jury wasn't told, but of course that's all come out now. And I think there was a point where a lot of us from the media thought there's a real chance she's going to walk here.
Sam, just backtrack on to those death stares from Erin Patterson in court. And you said you were a metre or so away from it. Talk us through one that sticks in your mind.
Yeah, I mean, there was one from the day she was found guilty when those verdicts came down from the jury, and she was sort of staring straight ahead toward the judge for this whole very short hearing. She wasn't looking at the jury, which was to the side of the courtroom. Of course, they were the ones that were reading out the verdicts. And then at one point, I was watching her quite intently. Her eyes shot from the judge to me. She stared at me for about 5 seconds and stared straight back at the judge again, which was really chilling.
Well, yeah, a death stare from a murderer.
A triple murderer.
Yeah.
Do you think in some way in her mind she almost blamed the media for the result? Like it was the fault of all of the journalists that
like it, right?
that had covered the case so intently?
I think so. And I've often thought about, did she really think that she would, try and kill 4 or 5 people as she wanted to if Simon had gone to this lunch? And did she really think that there was a world or a way that she would ever get away with this? I mean, what did she think the police were going to think if 5 people went to her home for lunch and they died and she was the only one who survived? So it's something I've thought about a lot.
A terrible accident. That's what she was hoping for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh, what isn't accidental, Sam, is
That's
is you winning a Young Journalist of the Year award. And
Quite a couple of years ago now, Steve.
well,
Not so young anymore.
You had a good start. And you
What was that?
backed it up.
So
I
what
was
was that?
downhill from there.
that was 2019, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
Yeah, 2019, mate. And you're off and running, at a current affair. Should we talk about your first day on the job?
Let's talk about your
Yeah.
first day on
day
the
in the
job. Baptism by garden hose.
That's absolutely right.
Tell us, we've seen the pictures. We're going to have another look at them now. Tell us
Oh, gosh.
what happened.
I've hoped desperately since that time that the story would just bump out of Google, because every time you search my name, that used to be the first one that popped up. And you'd rock up to people's houses to do a story, to film a story, and they'd say, "Hey, you're the guy that was drenched by that garden hose." So you're right, it was my first day at a current affair. I just, I was in the news at 9 News in Melbourne right before that, and we'd been up in Malakuta covering those really devastating bushfires over the New Year's period. And my first day at ACA, I got in, and the boss, John, said, "I'm going to send you out to these people who live on this street and they're terrorising their neighbours." So we rocked up there. I had no idea what I was doing at a current affair. It was my first story. And within a couple of minutes, they pull out the garden hose. It was like a 40-degree day or something. So it's really, really hot. And I'm standing there and they get me with the hose and I'm like, what do? Do I retreat? Do I stay? It's quite hot, So I stood there and for a good 10 minutes, they're just drenching me with the hose.
Are you being a bully to your neighbours, Rob? What are you doing with the hose? Right. So you're being a big bully to me now as well.
They're wild.
So Rob can bully your neighbours, but he's too scared to come out and talk to us. Excuse me, sir. What are you doing?
Out of control
The neighbours are harassing like this.
One question's after the...
and have no shame.
So I have reacted. Get it?
Something told me you enjoyed that, Sam. I mean,
Well,
as you say, it was a
It
40-degree
was quite
day,
refreshing, Steve.
and you're in your MJ Bale suit.
Not this one. I think it was another one, which has since been discarded.
And copped a spray.
It didn't smell too good after.
Mate, you are one of the best dressed men on a current affair. I've got to
snappy
say.
dresser.
You know,
He is
you
from
know.
Melbourne, so,
Is that was that from Sunday school days? Maybe you were made to dress to go to
No.
church, or what? What's behind the thinking there, where you rock up in a suit every day?
Well, I did go to a Catholic high school, but you've got to
Yeah.
make an effort,
You got to look good. One of the
does.
stories I love
Very sharp.
from you, Sam, is with your nonna.
Oh yeah.
That was a great story with the
Yeah.
sushi mango.
What we say, perfect casting.
It was excellent. Did she love it as much as we did?
She absolutely did. She still gets recognised in the street sometimes, would you believe, which is more than I get
How good.
recognised. So. But no, she has this little Italian club that she goes to every Thursday, and she was the star of the show. They're all like, "Oh my gosh, I've seen you on a current affair." That was so good. So she was getting calls from everyone. We actually went to her house to watch that story air that night, and her phone was lighting up from her Italian friends all over Melbourne.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah,
That's
solid
beautiful.
viewers of the current affair, the Italians,
right.
aren't they?
Oh yeah, we
Yeah.
love them. They love us. We love them.
Those Sushi Mango guys, they are great. They're good fun. I remember they took me into their house in Sydney and just sat me down and fed me up and licked me up, actually.
They're fantastic.
Yeah.
They're fantastic.
They know how to.
That's
put on
reality
show.
for Sam. That's
That's
not
right, I was gonna
TV. That's
say.
life.
It felt like walking into my nonna's actual house, being in their restaurant. You
Yeah.
can't tell the difference.
Yeah. Sam, tell us, what do you love about A Current Affair? What do you love about this format that we've got? Because it can be anything. What keeps you coming back?
Look, I think there's no other place like it on Australian TV, and I think it's that great sense of being able to help people when they've spent years and years fighting companies, governments, authorities that are supposed to protect them, and they're ignored, they're stonewalled for such a long time, and then they get on the program and things are fixed up like that. Sometimes before the stories even run, we have positive outcomes for them. But and I think it's also being able to expose wrongdoing that has gone uncovered for so long. And we do a story and, as I say, things are fixed up. And sometimes it's stepping into that role where the authorities can't quite act or they refused to do something about it. And that's what I love, telling those people's stories.
Yeah. Have you got one that sticks out from your any recent shows?
Look, I think there are so many where they're those unassuming stories, those stories that aren't the big stories, but you get a call from somebody after the program and they're in tears and they say, thank you so much for listening to us, for believing us. And it's really heartwarming to hear from the victims in those cases after these stories air.
And I mean, you're pretty good at the old bounce that we love at ACA. How do you prepare for a bounce? Have you got your questions ready to go in your head, or are you kind of like a free range? You've got to be ready for anything, don't you?
Look, every time you prepare, and I'm sure you guys can attest to this, the opposite happens. So
Yeah,
I feel like
exactly. You think you're going to get invited in for a cup of tea, you get a
That's
hose in
right.
the face.
That's right. It's always the exact opposite. Some of my favourite bounces we've done at Melbourne Airport where we have chased the touters, these illegal drivers who accost people in the terminals and they ask them for a free ride, but they're not registered. They charge exorbitant fees, and we've had quite a few marathon sprints through the airport. So there are some of the ones that really stick in my mind.
So are you wearing sneakers with those suits there, Sam?
No, just the old RMs here, which I actually had a pair get stuck in a door, an office door. Someone tried to
Getting your foot in the door.
lock me out. So that's right, foot in the door, literally.
On that note, Sam, have you had any recent experience with lost luggage?
Gosh, Steve, let me tell you about lost luggage.
Yes, please do.
Lucky I had AirTags in my luggage this time because the first time it happened, I learnt my lesson. So I said, next time, AirTags. So I'm coming back from London 2 weeks ago. And arrived in Melbourne, no luggage. I pull out my phone on my Find My thing and there it is in Doha, where I had a stopover. So it took a couple of days, but finally got it. But this was like 1 a.m. in the morning when I arrived. So I finally got back home by about 2 in the morning. Had to be at work by 9 a.m.
Here we go. And what was the story?
Actually, I had to go straight to court to cover the Erin Patterson sentencing. So I wasn't going to miss that. But
Big day.
big day,
Yeah.
no luggage. I had to wake up early, walk to the supermarket, buy some toiletries.
Yeah. Maybe Erin Patterson should have directed her death stare towards those baggage handlers.
That's right.
For you. Hey, speaking of AirTags, did you get the idea to put those in your luggage from that story you did about the two councillors battling it out in the local elections?
That was another classic, wasn't it? That's actually one of my favourite stories. It's just these really sort of small stories that you get an email about sometimes and they turn into these crazy things. And often you don't actually quite believe what people are telling you when they write in and they say, hey, I've got this story about AirTags and this council rival, and you go out there and there it is.
Because what happened was that the councillor who was suffering stolen posters, he suspected his main rival was doing it, so he dropped an AirTag in or stuck it on the inside
Inside
of his own
posters.
poster, right, his election poster. And Sam was able to follow
To track
the
it.
AirTag.
It became this huge whodunit suburban mystery, and
loved
we're
it.
following these AirTags around town as they're moving. And they ended up outside the house of one of the rival council candidates. So
Yeah.
he was arrested by police, still waiting to see whether they're going to charge him with anything. But just an extraordinary story. Neither
Brilliant.
of them got into council, though. So
That's probably a good thing. That's a story for another day. We do like to ask all of our reporters and presenters that we get on. You are still a young journo, but have you got any advice for young journos who are looking to get into the industry or might have just started in the industry? Where's this industry going? What words of wisdom have you got? Also for us old ones as well.
don't say that, guys. Look, I think it's, despite all the doom and gloom we hear, and me being at uni 10 years ago, we would hear it from our teachers all the time, you're not going to get a job, there's no jobs in the industry, but there are so many new roles opening up all the time. I mean, I never thought while I was at uni that we'd be sitting here doing a podcast today. So I think the way journalism is being done is changing all of the time, and there are lots of new roles opening up. So I think it's just getting out there, producing your own content, whether that's online, on social media, but also doing as much work experience as you can. That's something I really tried to do at uni. I would bash down doors until they let me in. If they wouldn't let me in the front door, I'd try around the back. They wouldn't let me in the back, I'd try the side. So you've just got to keep trying.
Yeah, great advice.
Great advice.
Sam,
And because nothing's going to get handed to you on a
No,
platter,
that's right.
is
No,
it?
you
Every
gotta-
job I've got, I've weaseled my way in, and you know, I'm still a little weasel.
You made
I've weaseled my way onto the podcast. Yeah.
That's great advice, Sam. All right, so let's wrap it up. You can catch all of Sam's greatest hits on YouTube, on the back
Yes.
catalogue, right? Just
Go back to the start
greatest
where
hits, I like
it
it.
began.
Yeah.
The garden hose.
the garden hose, you
Yeah.
know, there's all sorts.
Yeah, we love
and-
having you on the ACA team,
Yeah.
Sam. You're absolutely flying, and any
Yeah.
story you turn your hand to, you sink your teeth in, and we can see the passion that you've got. So yeah, if you want to catch up on any of Sam's stories over the years, head to ACA's YouTube channel, 9 Now, as well. And if you've got a question for us or for Sam, aca@9.com.au.
Or hit
hit us
Lizzie up on her socials.
Hit me up on my socials.
I've
I
got
love
to-
a DM.
Yeah, I've got to find my login again before.
Yeah,
I
Steve
do.
doesn't know his password, so don't try him unless you want to wait a couple of years.
Yeah, that friend request from you is still waiting,
Yeah,
isn't it?
I'm still waiting.
Yeah.
I thought it was just me. But that's good to know.
Sorry, Sam. Sorry, Lizzie. Yeah. And everyone else. Yeah.
Lovely to
gotta
chat,
sort that out.
guys.
Sam, good luck out there. You're a busy
Thank
man.
you.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks so
Sam.
much.